What do Barack Obama, sex tapes, a Louis Vuitton drug bag, and a terrified assistant have in common? All of them were mentioned, under oath, in federal court on day 7 of the bombshell trial against Sean Diddy Combs. And no, this isn't tabloid gossip. This is real courtroom testimony that's shaking the foundations of the entertainment industry. You may think you've heard it all, but today's revelations prove there's still a long, dark road ahead. So buckle up, because this story is about power, paranoia, and the shocking secrets behind the doors of Diddy's empire. Diddy entered the courtroom smiling, unusually cheerful for a man facing federal charges. Dressed in style, he flashed his signature smirk across the room. And then he made a heart gesture with his hands. But here's the twist. A woman in the public gallery returned the gesture. Who was she? A fan? A supporter? One of his baby mamas, or someone more involved? No one knows. But in a room thick with legal tension, that moment of silent connection felt like something more than coincidence. And it raised eyebrows across the courtroom. That morning, the prosecution called back David James, Diddy's former personal assistant, for further testimony. The man had already delivered shocking claims the day before, but nothing could prepare the courtroom for what he revealed next. According to James, Diddy didn't just run a record label. He ran an empire ruled by fear, secrecy, and obsession with control. Employees weren't treated like staff. They were more like indentured servants. 20-hour workdays, 7 days a week, no breaks, no boundaries. You were either loyal or gone. Everyone, assistants, bodyguards, even girlfriends like Cassie, operated under an unspoken rule. Diddy's word was law, and if you stepped out of line, there would be consequences. James revealed that at one point he was forced to take not one, but 2 lie detector tests. The first came after Cassie's luxury bracelet went missing. The second, after Diddy's expensive watch disappeared. James passed both tests, but during the second one he confessed something unrelated. He had once taken a pair of Sean John jeans and a small bottle of Ciroc. Not exactly a crime of the century, but in Diddy's world, even the tiniest misstep fed into a culture of surveillance and suspicion. This wasn't a music label. It was a pressure cooker. James described a workplace where staff lived in constant fear of being accused, monitored, or humiliated. Nothing was too small to trigger Diddy's wrath, and nothing was truly private. James didn't pause when asked about one of the most infamous items in Diddy's inner circle, the Louis Vuitton bag. This wasn't just a travel accessory, it was, in his words, Diddy's pharmacy, a designer vault stuffed with controlled substances and prescription drugs, many of them illegal or obtained under false names. Inside were pills for everything: Viagra, Plan B, even abortion medications more serious than over-the-counter emergency contraceptives. There were opioids, sedatives, party drugs, and the bag didn't carry a label. It wasn't in Diddy's name. Sometimes it was registered under an alias, Frank Black. That same alias appeared in hotel bookings, party planning, and later arrest documents. It was a name that floated through the shadows of Diddy's world, used, abused, and often forgotten. Until now. But the bag held more than pills, it held leverage. James recalled one particular night, New Year's Eve. The music was loud, the lights were low, and caught up in the chaos, he popped one of the ecstasy pills from the Louis Vuitton stash. Nothing out of the ordinary for the environment. Everyone was vibing, as Diddy called it. The term they used in the crew was Diddy bopping. The next morning, James found himself summoned. Diddy had filmed the entire party, not just wide shots of the crowd, targeted footage of James, high, dancing, laughing. He showed James the footage directly and asked a simple question: "Were you on ecstasy?" James admitted it, and Diddy's reply chilled the courtroom. "I'm going to keep this in case I need it." In other words, I own you now. That single sentence cracked open a terrifying picture. Behind the money, the awards, and the parties was a system of coercion. A machine where footage wasn't just memorabilia, it was leverage. Every room, James said, had cameras. Every hallway, every bathroom. Hidden angles, silent lenses, and all of it stored, archived, waiting for a moment of betrayal. Waiting to be weaponized. And Diddy didn't discriminate. Employees, escorts, celebrities, politicians. Everyone was a potential liability. Everyone could be flipped into an asset or a pawn. But that wasn't the worst of it. James then described an incident at a hotel, one of many freak-off setups, as they were casually called. These were orchestrated sexual gatherings involving Diddy, Cassie, and often other participants. Sometimes arranged, sometimes paid for, almost always recorded. James was tasked with prepping the room. He had a key card like always. He knocked. No one answered. So he let himself in. What he saw stayed with him forever. Cassie was lying on the bed completely unconscious, unmoving, face pale, eyes closed, sheets pulled up over her. Something about her posture disturbed him. He had seen her sleep before, always on her side. But now she lay flat on her back, lifeless. Then came the shock. From the shadows emerged a man around 5 feet 8 inches, long hair and, according to James, a grotesquely large package. So noticeable that James couldn't forget the image, even years later. The man, startled by James's sudden appearance, darted into the bathroom. The room fell into a surreal silence. Diddy was inside, showering. The unspoken truth hovered in the air. This wasn't a party. This wasn't consensual fun. This was something else entirely. Something orchestrated, controlled, watched. And Cassie? Just another unconscious participant in the machinery of Diddy's empire. The spiral into chaos didn't stop there. James described one late-night food run that turned into a near-death experience. He and Diddy's bodyguard, D-Rock, were sent to grab cheeseburgers from Mel's Diner, a mundane task for any assistant, until they noticed the car. Sitting a few spots over was Suge Knight. Now, if you know anything about hip-hop history, you know this wasn't just a random sighting. Suge Knight and Diddy had been at odds for decades. Blood had been spilled, allegiances drawn, so when Suge got out of the car and walked over to their window, heart stopped. He dapped them up, calmly. But then, the SUVs arrived. 4 of them. They didn't park. They positioned. Each vehicle strategically placed around the diner, lining up exits, watching. Something was about to go down. James and the bodyguard bolted, gunning the engine. They didn't wait to see what happened next. Later that night, James drove Diddy back to Mel's Diner. Diddy sat in the back seat, with 3 handguns on his lap. By the time they returned, Suge was gone. But the message had been delivered. This wasn't about burgers, it was about survival. James said that incident shook him so badly, he began questioning everything. This wasn't just music. It wasn't just loyalty. It was danger. Real, armed, unfiltered danger. And he didn't want any part of it. He would quit shortly after. The courtroom didn't know what to do with itself when David James dropped this next detail. Inside Diddy's Louis Vuitton bag, already infamous for containing prescription meds, abortion pills, and unlabeled opioids, that was something new. Ecstasy pills, shaped like Barack Obama. That wasn't a metaphor, that was literal. Pills molded into the face of the former president. When asked to clarify, James didn't flinch. They were shaped like Obama, he said. A hush fell over the courtroom. How do you even process that? Was it a street gimmick? A sick joke? A flex? A way of showing that even the most powerful icons of America were symbolically in Diddy's pocket? Whatever the meaning, it wasn't isolated. It was the second time Obama's name had been mentioned in sworn testimony, and it wouldn't be the last. James also revealed that Diddy consumed drugs almost constantly. Uppers during the day, ecstasy at night. His assistants, like James, were expected to procure everything from narcotics to condoms to baby oil. But here's the catch. None of it was ever recorded in expense reports. There were no receipts, no paper trail. James paid in cash, he was reimbursed in cash, through security, off the books, off the radar. Because if you're building a criminal empire disguised as a record label, the first rule is never leave a trace. Then came the testimony that changed everything. Cassie's mother, Regina Ventura, took the stand. Her appearance was brief but powerful. She didn't need dramatic storytelling. She didn't cry. She didn't ramble. She just confirmed one of the most disturbing things ever heard in that courtroom. Years ago, she received an email, a threat, from Diddy. The message was clear. Unless Cassie's family paid him $20,000, he would release graphic sex tapes, footage of Cassie and freak-offs, likely filmed without her consent. And this wasn't some rumor. Cassie's parents mortgaged their home to come up with the money. Let that sink in. A working-class family, terrified, humiliated, desperate to protect their daughter, risked their house to keep a billionaire from publicly destroying her. The defense didn't say a word. No cross-examination, no objection, no denial. They let it pass because the damage was already done. Sometimes silence is louder than argument. And in this case, the jury heard everything they needed in Regina Ventura's quiet testimony. Regina's testimony also confirmed another key moment from Cassie's own account. During a heated argument in Los Angeles, Diddy demanded Cassie tell her mother she was okay, but when she reached for her phone to text back, he ripped it from her hands and ran. Literally. Diddy jumped out of the car and sprinted down Wilshire Boulevard with Cassie's phone in hand, leaving her stranded. She was alone. No phone, no communication, no protection. Her mother, frantic and worried, ended up calling the police. Eventually, Diddy returned the phone, but not before the message had been made clear. I control when you speak. I control who hears you. For a man worth hundreds of millions, the childish act of running down the street with a woman's phone might seem ridiculous. But in the context of this trial, it was symbolic. A glimpse into the psychological grip he held over everyone around him. And then came the witness no one expected. He was known only by a nickname, the Punisher. Cassie had mentioned him during earlier testimony, identifying him from a booklet of male escorts allegedly used during the freak-offs. At the time, she didn't know his real name, but the prosecution did. Now he was in court, sworn in, under oath, ready to talk. His appearance wasn't long, but it echoed and reinforced everything already said by Cassie and others. He described transactional sexual encounters, arranged by Diddy's inner circle, often involving drugs, coercion, and camera equipment already rolling. He wasn't the first male escort to testify. Earlier in the trial, a man named Daniel Phillips had given his own disturbing account. But this was different. The pattern was undeniable now. Different men. Same story, same locations, same setups, same names. Diddy's inner circle wasn't just throwing wild parties. They were facilitating something systematic, an operation that the prosecution was now framing as part of a wider RICO case involving sex trafficking, blackmail, and interstate criminal activity. And just like that, what once seemed like salacious tabloid gossip was now building into a federal racketeering case. By this point, observers finally began to understand the prosecution's strategy. This wasn't a fast-moving spectacle with dramatic blow-ups. It was a slow burn, a chess match, a demolition of Diddy's empire, brick by brick. Each witness was a brick, each story a brick, each cross-confirmed detail another weight pushing the structure closer to collapse. And here's the most chilling part. They're not even close to finished. James is just one witness. Cassie is one voice. The Punisher is one chapter. But when they're stacked together, they begin to form a horrifying mosaic of manipulation, of coercion, of addiction, of exploitation. And somewhere in that mosaic, names like Barack Obama and Donald Trump are starting to appear. By now, it's clear that nothing about this case is simple. Not the charges, not the testimonies, not even the politics. Because while Barack Obama's name has surfaced twice during courtroom testimony, once in reference to drug-shaped pills, another in high-level political meetings, there's something else floating just outside the courtroom doors. A whisper, a rumor, a contradiction so bizarre it feels like fiction. Diddy is reportedly seeking a pardon from Donald Trump. Yes, that Donald Trump. The man he once openly opposed. The man Diddy publicly criticized. The same Diddy who campaigned for Democratic candidates, co-founded the Vote or Die campaign, stood side by side with Oprah at rallies, and poured millions into left-wing political causes. So why now is he allegedly courting Trump? Insiders say it's desperation. Diddy knows what's coming. He sees the walls closing in. And with so many legal dominoes already falling, he's reportedly making quiet overtures to anyone who might help, including the former president he once condemned. It's not a detail that's part of the official trial yet, but it adds a deeper psychological layer to the story, one that paints Diddy not just as a man fighting charges, but as a man facing annihilation, and trying to buy mercy from any direction it might come, even from his former enemy. Throughout the day, defense attorneys kept pressing one point. Why is James testifying now? The answer came directly from the witness himself. He has a proffer agreement with the federal government. In plain English, that means he's a cooperating witness, protected by law. In exchange for his testimony, he won't face charges for any crimes he admits to on the stand, as long as he's truthful and transparent. The defense jumped on this. They suggested James might be lying to save himself, that he was trying to throw Diddy under the bus to avoid prosecution. But here's the problem. His testimony doesn't exist in a vacuum. Multiple witnesses are saying the same things. Escort after escort, assistant after assistant, Cassie, Cassie's mother, and now James. He's not building a story, he's reinforcing one that's already been told. And the prosecution knows it. That's why they brought him in. Not to shock the jury, but to connect the dots. To those watching the trial unfold, the defense seems to be slipping. During Cassie's mother's testimony, a key emotional moment, they asked no questions. They didn't cross-examine. They didn't challenge the claim that Diddy extorted $20,000 from a terrified family. They just let it land. And that silence said everything. It was a silent concession, a strategic retreat, or worse, a sign they simply had no way to rebut what was said. Even with David James, their best tactic was softening the edges. They tried to show that he once respected Diddy, that Bad Boy Entertainment felt like family, that he was close with Diddy's mother, that there was some warmth under all that darkness. But let's be honest, what kind of family does this? What kind of son threatens your daughter's future with a sex tape unless you pay him tens of thousands? What kind of boss keeps videos of employees doing drugs to use later? At this point in the trial, the defense doesn't seem to be defending much. They're just trying to limit the bleeding. Shortly before the walls started to crumble, Diddy changed his name. Again, from Puff Daddy to Diddy, from Sean Combs to Brother Love, then just Love. At the time, it seemed eccentric. Another celebrity reinvention, a branding stunt, but now it reads like something darker. Multiple witnesses, including James, described Diddy as manipulative, controlling, and emotionally volatile. Someone who constantly blurred the lines between work and intimacy, abuse and affection, family and servitude. He made employees feel like family, like they were part of something sacred, something loyal. And then he used that illusion to trap them. Name changes like Love weren't just vanity. They were part of the machinery, part of a persona designed to disarm criticism, diffuse accusations, and cloak control in the language of affection. Because who would question a man who calls himself Love? Who would think the smiling, heart-gesturing, self-declared spiritual figure was capable of blackmail, coercion, and violence? But behind the name, the brand, the mantras, the testimony tells a very different story. As Day 7 came to a close, the courtroom wasn't exhausted. It was electrified. The prosecution had landed blow after blow without even needing dramatic flair. No shouting, no outbursts, just facts, documents, names, videos, voices. Each new witness added weight. Each unanswered accusation chipped away at the myth. And in the background, the government's RICO case grows more focused. Because that's what this is really about. Not just parties or pills or power. It's about building a criminal enterprise case under federal racketeering laws. The same kind of laws used to take down mafia bosses, drug cartels, and corrupt organizations. And Diddy, he's not just a celebrity anymore, he's a target. A powerful one, yes, a rich one, a connected one. But targets fall too. With 7 days behind them, the prosecution isn't slowing down, they're building momentum. Sources close to the case say the witness list is far from finished. More assistants, more escorts, more staff members who, for years, stayed silent. Some were scared. Some were paid. Some just wanted to forget. But now, one by one, they're stepping forward. And that's what makes this trial different. It's not a single accusation, not a tabloid rumor. It's a pattern, a machine, a culture Diddy allegedly created and controlled. And now it's unraveling under oath. Behind the courtroom doors, the music industry is holding its breath. Because if even half of what's been said is true, Diddy's empire wasn't just built on talent and hustle. It was built on fear, control, and silence. And silence is contagious. What other artists knew? What other executives helped cover it up? What videos exist stored on hard drives from those years of surveillance? This isn't just a Diddy story anymore. It's a story about what fame lets you hide and how long you can hide it. He walked into court with a smile, made a heart with his hands, carried himself like a man still untouchable. But inside that courtroom, the illusion cracked. The name Love doesn't erase the lies. The music can't drown out the screams. And the empire he built, song by song, deal by deal, now stands on trial, brick by brick. And the question left hanging in the air: how many others knew? And how many still believe he'll walk away clean? So now you've heard the testimony, the blackmail, the pills, the silence. But what do you think? Is Diddy just the face of a much bigger machine? One that goes deeper than music? Deeper than Hollywood? Or is this the fall of a man who thought he could outsmart everyone? Forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who else do you think might be exposed if this case keeps going? Nah! And if you want to know what the media won't say out loud, subscribe now. Because the next witnesses are coming, and what they reveal could shake the industry to its core. This story isn't over. Not even close.